Hey there, fellow minorities. Welcome back once again to e-commerce for minorities. Today, we are continuing the topic, reasons I believe you should not start a business in 2026, especially if you live here in America. And it's also, especially if you live under any immigration status less than US citizenship yet. Before we get into it, let me quickly make a few clarifications. First, what we say here is not business or financial advice. And for this specific episode, it is not immigration advice. Always consult a qualified immigration attorney for your personal situation because each person's situation is different, obviously. Second, this is a business channel where we share, inform, and promote activities around product sourcing, procurement, marketing, retail, and online services that we offer as a company. And third, please like, comment, share, and subscribe if you're interested in conversations like this. All right, let's get into it. Number one reason I believe you should not start a business in 2026 in America is immigration uncertainty. I don't know what's happening where you are, but anti-immigration sentiment is not unique to the United States. We are seeing countries across the world tightening their immigration policies. And broadly speaking, these tend to affect people from poorer countries, especially those in Africa, a lot more than someone from Europe, even someone from South America. Now, let's be honest about something. Africa should not be a continent exporting its people into what increasingly feels like a modern form of economic dependency or even modern day slavery. Okay, Africa has a net positive population growth. Take Nigeria, for example. The median age is about 18.3 years and over 70% of the population is under 30. We are talking about one of the most educated, widely traveled, and globally accomplished populations. The continent is rich in natural resources and does not face the same level of natural disasters as many other regions. Our natural disaster is basically our leaders. Yet, Africa is still classified as poor. That tells you something deeper is going on. Like I said, leadership. The same global discrimination that leads to stricter immigration policies also reflects internal challenges within African nations themselves. So it's not unique to Africa and America. For example, look at what is happening in South Africa, where Africans are being attacked by fellow Africans. And similar tensions also exist within Nigeria today, especially as the 2027 general elections. If you have thoughts on why these things are happening and how to address them, drop them in the comment section below. This is an interactive platform and I would love to bring in experts to expand the conversation. Now, back to the main topic. If you're not a US citizen, especially if you're here on a temporary visa like a student visa, tourist visa, even a green card holder, that's legal permanent resident, I strongly advise against starting a business here in America in 2026. And here is why. Starting a business involves significant interaction with government systems. I know firsthand because I've registered businesses both in the state of Georgia and in Texas. So you need to provide detailed personal information, including your name, address, and social security number to obtain an EIN or ITIN from the IRS. Then comes banking compliance and annual tax filings. All of these increases your visibility and exposure. In a time of immigration uncertainty, that's a risk you need to think clearly about before you engage in starting a business or get involved in starting a business. Now, beyond immigration, there's also economic uncertainty. The tariff situation is still unresolved. Ongoing conflicts in Europe and the Middle East are affecting global markets. Yes, the US stock market looks strong, but much of that growth is driven by AI and data center investments, sectors that are already facing pushback from local communities that host these AI and data centers. So in my opinion, if you haven't already started your business, it might be wise to wait until things become clearer, say after 2028. Now, if I were in that situation, Here are some of the things I would do instead of starting a business. First, I would have an immigration lawyer on speed dial, because if anything goes wrong, that's your first line of defense. That's who you need to call first. Second, I would identify one reliable person in the US, a friend or relative who is actually available when needed, because not everyone will show up for you when things get tough. Third thing I would do is I would completely overhaul my spending habits. Stop upgrading your iPhones every year. Spending $1,000 annually on devices like that is unnecessary unless you're into tech and you sell products like that, because nobody cares what phone you're using. The same goes for expensive cars. A $650 monthly car payment plus $260 in insurance is not smart in uncertain times. If possible, downgrade. Buy something affordable. Your credit score won't matter if your immigration situation collapses and you're deported back to Nigeria, to Cameroon, to Ghana. You don't need your credit scores there. Next, I'll rethink my investment strategy. If I had fixed assets, I might consider converting some of them into cash. I've seen cases where people were deported and lost access to their assets like their homes, cars, and all of that. That's a hard reality, and that's the reality we live in now. I would also diversify where I keep my money. There are fintech platforms that allow global access to your funds, like Revolut and all that. That flexibility matters if your situation changes suddenly. Then I would run a lean financial lifestyle. Share rent if possible. Cut unnecessary expenses. Keep things tight. I would also use a credit card for transactions, not because I'm trying to borrow money, but to trace my spending and also for financial flexibility. Another important point: stop trying to solve problems that have existed before you were born and will continue to exist after you are gone. Focus on stabilizing your own life first. Stay out of trouble. Avoid unnecessary risks like excessive partying or nightlife that could lead to complications, getting involved with law enforcement and all of that. And finally, I will start saving money in the country I am most likely to return to if things don't go as planned. Yes, if you're going to likely end up in Nigeria, you're going to likely end up in Ghana, in Cameroon, wherever you are going to end up with, you're sure that's where you're from. If you're deported or forced to leave the United States, that's where you're going back to. Start saving money there. You don't necessarily need to invest, but start saving money. For those of us who are born in Nigeria, there are ways Nigerians who live outside of Nigeria can set up bank accounts. So once again, let me say clearly, start saving money. Start putting your money in the place where you're most likely going to go back to if all else fails. So essentially, prepare for all outcomes. These are just a few strategies, and I haven't even gone deep into each one of them. If you want a detailed breakdown of any of these points, let me know in the comments and I'll cover them in future videos. If you think I missed anything or you have your own questions or opinions, drop them below. I am very sure most people watching would be happy to hear different thoughts on this. Please check out our first video on this topic here on your right, and our iPhones videos here, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye.